people chatting as we go. So let's start from there. Everybody can see my screen. Claire, I think you're still hopefully, or yeah, you can unmute. Carla, thank you for joining. Carla is from my company. She's one of our career coaches and executive coaches. So she'll be joining me and also going to helping with any air traffic control required. So I'm just going to make my screen smaller and even smaller still, and we can start from there. So welcome, everybody. It's wonderful to have you here. And let's spend the next 2 hours and hopefully give you some good food for thought. So my welcome always is Sawubona. It's my favorite African greeting. It means I see you. And the deeper meaning is all my attention is with you. I see you and allow you to discover, or allow myself to discover your needs, to see your fears, to identify your mistakes and to accept them. I accept you for what you are because you are part of me. So in the session, it really is about being able to be frank and honest and to ask questions that you want to be able to have answered and to support you as best we can through your studies and your journey. So my name is Chantal. As mentioned, I specialize in the art of the possible and forging and nurturing raw talent, predominantly within the supply chain space, but I tend to coach and do team development across multiple industries and sectors and individuals. So in terms of a bit of basic housekeeping, today we'll be covering 2 elements. The first one is focusing on stress management and looking at exam prep, any techniques I can kind of give you with regards to that. The second one was just around a little bit of career choices and insights, which I'll spend probably lesser time on. We're here for 2 hours, is the allotted time. I will make sure that I definitely stop way well before that, and I will not go over to respect your time. What I would say is if you're in a room, please close doors, put phones on flight mode so that you're uninterrupted and you can bring all your focus to what we're doing at the moment. Be fully present, engage with what we're doing. If you've got some water, I always encourage that. And where possible, please put your cameras on. It's particularly helpful me when I can actually see people that I talk to. So if your bandwidth allows it, please switch on cameras. And then mostly play with full out interest and curiosity. So in terms of the next slide, let's just get it to pump over, is what is stress? That's the question, right? So what is stress? Anybody who wants to kind of mute themselves is what do you believe stress is? You're welcome to answer if you like while I take a sip of water. So let's see if Emery's answering. Otherwise, I'm going to move on. I'll let you off the hook slowly and gently, or I'll get you mobilized slowly and gently. My favorite thing about what stress is, if you are stressed, you eat chocolates, ice cream, and cream. Why? Because stress spelled backwards is dessert. So I believe that stress is a mindset. And it's really important that you have a pressure mindset, but not a stress mindset. And in terms of studies, it is a mental game. So focus more on the desserts and less on the stress. So how does the stage of stress work? Just a bit of background is we kind of start off in a healthy homeostasis. And then what kind of happens for us is we start getting to that alarm stage. Your cortisol starts kind of picking up. You get into a bit of flight and fright reflex, which is still the good health stress, right? It's still, it's healthy stress. We get to this period of getting a little bit more resistance. So more of a resistance stage. It's like, this is now persisting and it's not feeling great. And then we get to the last part, which is full exhaustion stage, and we get into panic mode. If you let that kind of spin down for too long, it can get to a breakdown and burnout. But the important thing to notice here is there are stages, and you can be able to catch yourself at different parts of it. Number 2 is when your alarm is, I always say, I'm not stressed, I'm under pressure. So using different vocabulary, catching myself, using techniques I'll kind of show you today, you can use in order to be able to manage your stress that you don't go into that full stage 3. So oftentimes what happens is when people get stressed, they go into fear mode as well. And the question then is, what is fear? When speaking from a stress management perspective, it's false evidence appearing real. They said that most of the things we worry and fear and get in our minds about is most of it doesn't come true. And so fear oftentimes is a limitation dragon. And that's the difference between saying is that we want to be able to keep our fear at bay, our worries at bay, and be able to see it just as this is false evidence appearing real, and to replace that with more positive psychology and a different way to see things. So in order to bring that breakthrough, right, in order to bring a change about when you're feeling the pressure, when the fear starts building, is we speak about the 3 S's: state, story, and strategy. The most powerful of these is state. Oftentimes when people are in a pickle or in a challenging situation, what I'm saying is, how am I going to solve this? And that's the strategy part, right? That's the how. What you want to do is you want to focus first on changing state. The reason is that we are meaning-making creatures. We live through our emotions. In addition to that, it's the one that you've got the most power to control and to be able to edit and change in the quickest way. So state really is your frame of mind. It's your emotions that influence you. It's your physiology and your psychology, which we'll talk a bit about physiology in the course of our session. The second part is your story, right? Oftentimes, one of the most powerful things we find is, what is the self-talk that's happening in the mind, right? Are you saying to yourself, this is just pressure, or is it stress? Are you saying I'm good enough or not good enough? Are you entertaining thoughts of I could fail at this versus saying is I cannot fail, I can only learn and grow? That's my only 2 options. So either is the stories and the self-talk we have in our mind is either part of our motivation why we push through and we succeed, or it's the excuse why we don't get to where we want to go to. And you want to be able to change what you keep saying to yourself. Notice what you're saying to yourself on repeat, right? They say the past doesn't determine the future unless you choose to live there. You can create different habits for yourself. You can create new patterns, new ways of being. And the last part we spoke about is plan, right? And that's to keep it simple. In terms of strategy, it's an overused business word way too often. And what I find is really powerful is to keep it simple. Complexity is the enemy of execution. The most powerful reason why people don't succeed is they don't follow through. They don't have an action plan. They don't take that first step to getting something done. Scheduling things, starting something small, and doing that on habit or repeat is how you get to greatness. So let's going to talk about state change, right? Because that's the one, is if we're getting into kind of exam mode or into preparation, really important is for you to be able to manage your state. And your state is, yes, it's your frame of mind, it is your emotions, but one of the most powerful things is your physiology. If I kind of were to kind of be able to ask one of you is, how do we worry, right? Most of us tend to worry, looking down, making ourselves smaller, right? Even crunching the body up more. But when we celebrate, oftentimes we expand ourselves. And so using our body in a different way is one of the foundations of changing our state. So looking at your state of mind or looking at your state, one of the first fundamental things around state change is change the body, change the way you position it, what you're doing with the body. Sorry. The second element around state is the feelings, is what we focus on is what we get in life, right? What you feel on repeat is going to determine your state. So what do you focus on? What are the feelings that you tend to bring in? Because a state of mind, a state of confidence might have happiness in it. It might have empowerment, different feelings of joy or of energy that make up that state. The third one is very simple, we spoke about, is that mental language. Is what language do you use? Saying is, oh, I hope I can do this. You know, I think I'd like to pass this thing. It's very important to be conscious of the language you use in your preparation phases. Language which is empowering, language which is certain, because that gives us meaning, right? Saying is, I'm passing this exam. I can do this. I'm able to. I've done this before, so I can do it again. By checking your physiology, your feelings, and the language you use is how you're able to change state. So why do we want to do this, right? Because when you go into exam mode, you can kind of put into your comment box, so those of you who can type, so I'm going to kind of maybe stop there for a quick second, take a step back, is what is the kind of state or different states that you need to be in order to prepare for your exam? So assimilate as much information. And secondly, what kind of state you need to be in when you're actually writing the exams. So Carla or Claire, if you're able to kind of just note down what anybody says, what is the state? What's the emotions you should be experiencing in order for you to assimilate as much information as possible, to be a sponge for the information, and also from an exam perspective is in that exam state, what is the best state for you to be in? So get you guys engaged quickly is just type in there for me what that would be. While I admit another person. Let's see if I can get the chat open on my side. Focus. Thank you. I might say this wrong, but Malinka, focus 100%. If you ask me from a coaching perspective, what is our superpower? It'll always mostly be hands down focus. Focus is one of the most powerful things that you can control. Is you want to be unitasking, you want to be single-minded, one track in terms of what you're doing. Beautiful. Anybody else is what is an important emotional state you need to be in order to write your exams well and prepare for it well. Welcome to type something into the comment box there. One I would bring in probably would be confidence, certainty, determination. Thank you for that one. So be absolutely determined, focused, single-minded. Persevering more is more of an emotion, but a state of perseverance may be another great one that you can do. You need to be able to, believe you can. So that's self-belief, right? Self-belief is a state of mind. Beautiful. Thank you for those of you that kind of contributed. And confidence, 100%, right? Courage, confidence is part of what you want to do, right? So the more you can bring in that confidence, the more you arriving prepared, the more you're able to excel at what you're doing. So then we go on to the next part, which is how do we change our state? Because most of us kind of don't always arrive to preparation or to exams in that confident state or in that determined state, but sometimes more when the stress brings into it. So how do we change that, right? And we spoke about physiology, language, and emotion. The first one you can do, again, I can't see you, but please do play along, is what you can do is just put your hand on your chest for me and don't move your body at all. Most of you probably would pick up that you probably are slanting forward a little bit. But what I want you to do is with your hand on your chest, I want you just to kind of sit up straight. You can do it again. So slant down, maybe more, your back might be bent, your shoulders might be forward, even just your shoulders are maybe hunched slightly forward. And I just want you to sit up straight with a straight back, shoulders back, and tell me if you notice a feeling, a difference in the body. Again, either someone can unmute themselves or you can just type in, how is it different? So notice a difference from that to sitting up straight. What's the difference for you? Do you feel a difference? Is the first question, yes or no? And number two is, how does it feel different? See, someone wrote about planning. Planning definitely is an action that you can do, less so a state of mind. Anybody notice a difference in that slanting technique from sitting up or slanting forward versus sitting up straight? Engagement is good, people. Yes, someone noticed a difference? Anyone else? Oftentimes when I do this in a group setting, more awake, yes, is what we find is oftentimes for people is the difference between this and that is feeling more empowered, feeling more centered, feeling more confident, more focused. Thank you for that, Tom. It really is about being able to feel more of that certainty, right? It's more about, it actually grounds and centers you. So whenever you're having to study or focus or feel like you kind of not focused is, notice your body positioning, because we worry mostly forward and scrunched up is sit up straight, right? Even body positioning, which is the second one we're looking at as power posing. So in terms of power posing, it really is research that was done by a lady from Harvard, Amy Cuddy. And what they found is that it's actually kind of come from even the animals, the animal kingdom, is by changing the shape and the body posturing, you change the biochemistry within your body. So oftentimes is by sitting up straight, by expanding ourselves, by opening our legs, right? So being able to expand our arms, sitting up straight, just making yourself bigger. What happens is you actually release a lot more of our adrenaline, cortisol, some of the testosterone, hormones that give you more confidence, more empowerment. So they say if you do this for 2 to 3 minutes at a time, then you'll actually change the biochemistry of your body. So before you're going to start studying, before you go into an exam, go into the bathroom and power pose. So it's everything from the kind of victory stance to the Superman or Superwoman kind of pose. Make yourself bigger, right? So spread the legs, move the arms into more of an expansive position. Standing like that for 2 to 3 minutes will literally change the biochemistry of your body. So use that before studying and also before going into exams. The next one is a technique called Hakalau. And what Hakalau really is, it's the learning state. It's that focus, which I think one of the attendees kind of brought up. It brings you into focus state. So probably maybe some of you have known is that oftentimes what they've said is if you listen to brainwave music, it'll be able to move your brain into a higher brainwave, and that might bring increased concentration. Hakalau is the same thing, but it's a quicker technique. And so here's the exercise in terms of how you do it. So pretty much what you do is you look straight ahead. And then what you do is you bump your eyes up. So you're almost looking through your eyebrows, not at the point where your eyes are starting to strain, but up quite high, and you find a dot on the roof. So eyes pointed forward or up to a dot on the roof and pick a spot on the roof. Once you pick the spot on the roof, what I want you to do is to, while you're looking at the spot on the roof, is to start paying more attention to the peripheral. So notice the rest of the roof while looking at that dot on the wall or the roof. You may actually start noticing that you might feel that your breathing is slowing down. While looking at the spot on the roof, become even more aware of the side walls of the room that you're sitting in. As you're doing that, you might feel that your shoulders start relaxing, breathing calms down. While looking at the spot on the roof, you become aware of the space in front of you and behind you. And you may notice that your body's kind of calmed down and relaxed. That pretty much is the technique. It takes 10 or 15 seconds. If you're practicing like I am, I'm within the first 2 or 3 seconds, my brain I can feel goes into the higher brain waves. And how you'll know it is the relaxation tells you you've got into a Hakalau. So really it is technique, look ahead, look up, find a spot on the roof, and then you become just more aware of the peripheral vision while looking at the spot on the roof. And kind of you'll just notice your shoulders relax, your breathing slows down, and you've gotten into the higher brain waves, which creates more focus, more concentration, and will allow you to be able to assimilate more information. So use this in any class, preparing for an exam, during the exam, when you find your focus is gone, you've got to kind of bring back after a bathroom break, bring back to Hakalau to bring that focus back in. Useful, helpful? If so, I want to kind of get us to kind of work on some reactions. So what you're going to find if you're on your top bar, I would call it that, there is something for chat, people I've got, and then raise and reactions. So if any of that kind of worked for you, it's just either give me a thumbs up or any of the reactions. Let's just see if you can kind of make the reactions work. Let me just see if I can actually see them moving across. There we go. Fantastic. There we go. Fantastic. Cool. All right. So if you can please come engage with me. So again, as I kind of know that you're sort of with me and if things work. If there are any questions around anything, then please just unmute yourself immediately and just ask as we go. So we may pick up a raised hand, but otherwise kind of just either put their like question or question mark in the chat box or unmute yourself and chat from there. Beautiful. So kind of noticing is, did you feel a difference in the energy in your body and kind of feeling the relaxation, the focus kind of coming in? If so, just give me a thumbs up. Perfect. Thank you. I got a response there. There comes another one. Beautiful. Thank you very much. So the last one then is going into breathing, right? So breathing techniques, again, is a super powerful way to get us from that stress into more the focus, more the concentration to move us into a different state. So breathing, what I oftentimes speak about here, as this power posing, Hakalau we spoke about, is breathing is the first one I love to kind of use is the stop technique. When you catch yourself is to do stop, which is stop, take a breath, observe where you're at, and then only proceed. What's really important is to be able to, if you are studying or things like that, is to catch yourself as put alarms on and saying if you're not if you catch yourself only 20 or 30 minutes later, it is what it is. So either stop yourself, or otherwise put an alarm on saying is, hey, am I still present? Am I still focused, right? And be able to take a breath to just calm yourself down and bring you back to self-awareness. So there's another technique I want to quickly give you. Again, this is a mindfulness practice. So again, these things are there to reduce your stress, to be able to bring you into better brain waves, into better biochemistry, because we're pretty much a pharmacy in our body. And through that, we can be able to regulate our nervous system indirectly. So what you can do, again, a quick technique, is put both your feet on the floor for me. And what I want you to do is just to be able to be comfortable in your chair, feet on the floor. And while you're doing that is just notice your feet. Bring all of your awareness down to your feet. You can wiggle your toes. You can notice how the heel of your foot is grounded into the earth. And then bring your awareness up to your calves. Notice your thighs. Become aware of your seat. Notice how you're grounded on the seat below you. Feel the support of the chair behind you. And then move your breathing or your awareness up to your chest area. And here what I want you to do is I'm going to take you through a bit of a guided breathing. And what we're going to do is you're going to breathe in for a count of 2. You'll hold for a count of 2 and breathe out for a count of 4. I will gently take you through it. We'll do about 3 breaths together. So as your awareness is now in your chest area, just notice your breathing. Notice the breath coming in through your nose and out through your nose. Just bring all the awareness breathing in. Notice air coming in the nose and out the nose. And on the next breath, I'd like you to count in for a count of 1, 2, holding it in your heart or your chest space for 1, 2, breathing out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathing in again for a count of 1, 2, hold heart space 1, 2, and breathing out for 4, 3, 2, 1. One more breath. Breathing in for 1, 2, holding for 1, 2, and breathing out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Welcome to bring your focus just back into the room. I just want to increase the scale that I can just see you again. So one is, Carla, I've now lost my screen with the team, but if you could just quickly let me know if, okay, we're still on there. So what was your experience of that? So again, I want to see if someone is brave enough to unmute and just tell me, what did you notice in that exercise? So just unmute and quickly share, I'd appreciate it. Anybody brave, just to unmute and just tell me what you noticed happening in your body or noticed through the exercise or how you feel by the end of the exercise. I'm concerned if your bravery is not here, right? We want to build the courage before you get to the exam periods. So what I will kind of maybe just guide you in terms of what's important to note. What we did is a 2-part technique there. The first part is called seat and feet, and the second part is 9 breaths. So in terms of seat and feet, it really is about being able to move yourself out of the stress, worry in the outside world and bring yourself and become self-aware. So by doing the seat and feet, bring all your awareness down to your feet, what happens is that all your awareness kind of moves from the outside world and it comes in, which means that you're kind of reducing the noise outside and bring the body, getting into body awareness. What actually happens is that you just tend to kind of calm down the nervous system. So by bringing that awareness to the body, it just kind of brings back to your sensing. It's just a centering and a grounding technique. Thank you. I feel fascinated by the fact. Sorry, there's now a, thank you for those of you that are contributing. I feel calmer and guides to calmness. Beautiful. I was fascinated by the fact that such a simple technique does so much. Yeah, absolutely right. Because it really is, it tends to just kind of shut off everything else. Because what oftentimes happens to us is we stress out there, right? And or in the mind. By bringing it into body sensation, it naturally is a grounding technique. Another simple one that I tend to use, I just imagine myself sitting on a red pillow, right? And just kind of grounding my energy to the earth. But really much, it's a grounding technique, number one. Someone else says a lot of tension was released. Beautiful, right? Because I would say that you can be able to ground all the negative out through your feet, right? That's what I'm saying is we're grounding ourselves to the earth. The second part, which is a little bit more neuroscientific, is the breathing technique. As I mentioned, I call it the 9 breaths, because what you do is you count in for a count of 2, you hold for a count of 2. What's important about the holding part, again, is it's centering, it's grounding, but it's also, it's that pause, silent moment. So when you wanted to kind of get away from the stress is you want to get that peace and quiet. So having that 2 minutes or that 2 counts of just peace and quiet, it's a stilling of the mind. And then the super most important element is the out breath was for a count of 4. The reason we do that has got to do with your nervous system. So we tend to operate in 2 nervous systems, your sympathetic and your parasympathetic nervous system. So when you breathe in just naturally, you tend to be operating in your sympathetic nervous system, the one on the right, which is fight and flight, which means that our pupils dilate more. Our stomach tends to inhibit digestion. More of your cortisol and those kind of hormones get secreted. When we breathe out, we go into our parasympathetic nervous system, the one on the left. That's what happens there is that we tend to, our heart rate tends to slow. We digest our foods better. We have more of the serotonin and the dopamine, the happy hormones getting secreted. Fight and flight versus rest and digest. Oftentimes when people tend to worry, they try to breathe in quicker, right? Which means they say in fight and flight even more and they start potentially hyperventilating. But by the technique of swapping it around and increasing the out breath for longer, we're forcing our body or coaxing it into staying into your rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system longer, meaning you're releasing more of the relaxation and calming hormones. And by doing that, you're changing the biochemistry of your body. So it's more than just breathing or kind of funky voodoo. It really is about being able to influence your nervous system to secrete more of the hormones, which allows you to calm down and relax. So again, a technique you can use at any point in time is try and do probably 3 to 5 breaths. Is just to kind of count for yourself. I tend to use my fingers, so I don't have to think about it. Just kind of working in reverse, and I just do 1 pause before I start. So 2, 2, 4, and then 1, back to 2, 2, 4, 1. So great about this is it's actually not just trying to like, don't stress about it. It changes the biochemistry of the body. Cool. So the next one I'd like to kind of bring in here is, again, in terms of state change, we spoke about the mind. So an interesting fact is the body is probably about 85% or more water. And there's a beautiful, incredible gentleman called Emoto who did some research around water crystals. So what he would do is he would take water and they would speak words over it and freeze it and see what the crystals look like. So when they use things like honesty or respect or love, you've got these beautiful crystals. I love you and I can, right? Very pertinent for exam prep. You've got these beautiful crystals. But when you said I cannot, the crystal was damaged. When you said stupid, it would make more of muddy water than actually make a proper crystal. Why it's important for you is 1, yes, please drink water, flush up anything out of your system. But more than anything else is our body holds our emotions. It holds our thoughts. So be very conscious of the self-talk that you're using going forward, right? Is keep kind of saying things that affirm for you. Because your body is water, so it's more than just kind of holding this in the mind. Is in your body is have affirmation like I can, I'm good enough, I can do this, I've got this, I'm prepared, I'm focused. Because our body can be able to store those positive emotions and those, it's got muscle memory by default, water memory if you want to call it that. So in short, in order to prepare and be in exam times is use some of these techniques, right? Change the body posture, slant up, sit up straight, look up, get into that hakalau brainwave movement. Focus on the emotions, right? On a daily basis is start thinking and cultivating what emotion do you particularly wanting to have or state you particularly want to be in going into your exam preparation. And just every day kind of, and notice, like think about a time when you felt that, like when you felt courageous, right? It doesn't have to be a big thing or a small one. Anytime you felt courage. Our brain, our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between big and small. It just knows feeling, right? So when did you feel happy? When did you feel confident? When did you feel determined? And notice in that period, if you bring that image into your mind is, how was your body, right? How did you walk? How did you talk? How did you hold your body? What feelings were you focused on? Where did you feel them in your body? And notice the language. When you're kind of in that state of confidence is what do you say to yourself? On a daily basis, as you're preparing, as you're training, is notice the language and bring more affirming language in, which supports us emotions so you can bring yourself into that great state. Beautiful. So what I'm going to do is to move into a quick learning style assessment. So if you hopefully have with you, I hope that you've got a pen and paper. If you don't, someone's going to either kind of put a hand up and saying, Chantal, please stop, or I'll move on in the next 30 seconds. All right. So with some pen and paper with you, I'm going to just ask you a few, I'm going to show you a assessment and I'll take you through it now step by step. Double checking, everybody happy for me to move on? If so, just give me a thumbs up if you can. Carla, are you able to just kind of check for me if everybody is good there? Thumbs up happening? Carla, are you able to unmute? Okay.
Yes, I am.
All right. Everybody ready? Can I move on to the next element? Thumbs up happened, or anybody saying please kind of hold the phone? Okay, I saw one thumbs up in the bottom corner there. Okay, cool. Let's kind of move on with it then. So in terms of assessment, the assessment we're going to do next is called a representational system. And it really kind of looks at your preferred style. So there's no right or wrong in any of the assessments we do. It's just about what your preference is. So what I want you to do is I'm going to show you 5 different statements, one after the other. And under each one of those, it's going to be a statement or a phrase. You're going to kind of use this foreign scoring of 4, most describing of me, 3, next best description, 2, next best, and 1 is least. So all I want you to do is to, yeah.
I see a raised hand.
Perfect.
I don't know if they want us before you start explaining.
Perfect. Thank you much for that, Carla. Okay. D. Kafua, is there a question that you've got? If so, just unmute yourself. I wonder if I can possibly unmute you. I don't think I can only mute you, but I can't unmute you. Is there a question that you've got? And then I can just quickly assist you with that. So unmute if you're able to. And the raised hand has just dropped, so I think we're good to go. Thanks, Carla, for catching that. Appreciate it. All right. So as I said, it's going to be a rating scale. The one that's most like you, you're going to rate a 4, least like you a 3, and the other 2 is either a 3 or a 2. Don't overthink this. Trust yourself and just go with the best answer. So I'll give you the example. So first statement is I make important decisions based on gut level feelings, which way sounds the best, which looks the best to me, or a precise review and study of the issues. What you want to do then is just to rate which one is the most like you. So if you pick it, for example, let's say 4, and I put that one, I rate it a 4, it's the most like me. Then pick which one's the least like you, and then the other 2, which ones would you kind of go more or less with. So effectively, you want to use this, that one number only once, and just kind of, it's pretty much a ranking scale. Which one is the most like you, which one is the least like you, and just use numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. Comfortable? Moving on from there. Otherwise, please unmute or raise hand so I know that you need some support. So let's start with the first question. We're going to just go through them slowly and gently together. The question is, I make important decisions based on gut level feelings, which way sounds the best, what looks the best to me, a precise review and study of the issues. So whichever one is the most like you, give that a 4. Least like you, give it a 1. And the other ones you can just mark 2 or 3. I'll give you probably about 30 seconds just so I kind of can keep an eye on it. Okay, moving on to the next one. During an argument, I am most likely to be influenced by the other person's tone of voice, whether or not I can see the other person's point of view, the logic of the other person's argument, whether or not I'm in touch with the other person's true feelings. Most like you, least like you, and then the other 2. Again, I'll give you 30 seconds for that. Okay, moving on to the next one. Is I most easily communicate what is going on with me with the way I dress and look, the feelings I share, the words I choose, or my tone of voice. Again, give you 30 seconds. Moving to the next option, the next statement. It's easiest for me to find the ideal volume or tune in on a radio station, to select the most intellectually relevant point in an interesting subject, selecting the most comfortable furniture, or selecting rich, attractive color combinations. Most like you, least like you, and then the other 2. Okay, moving on to the final one then. So here there's no pre-statement, you're just going to rate these 4 different statements. I am tuned into the sounds of my surroundings. I'm very adept at making sense of new facts and data. I'm very sensitive to the way articles of clothing feel on my body. I have a strong response to colors and to the way a room looks. And again, I'll give you 30 seconds for those. All right. Is everybody happy to that point? Everybody got their different scorings? just kind of give us a thumbs up or something in the reactions. So Carla, I can see you at the moment. So if you see people kind of giving you a thumbs up that we're good to go, there's no questions and we can kind of move to the scoring part. You're seeing some thumbs ups happening? Perfect, thanks Carla. So then we're moving on to the scoring. So what's going to happen is, what you're going to do is to use the scoring, you're just going to pretty much carbon copy them, the ones that you've got, and you're going to put the letter next to the numbers you've got at the moment. So for example, you'd have seen that for my first example, I used 4, 1, 2, 3. And all you're going to do is pretty much just, where you've written 4, 1, 2, 3, just write down KAVAD. So pretty much all you're doing is just adding the letter that I've put behind it, behind each of the scoring that you've given it in the order that you had it. So whatever your order, let's say your order for B would have been whatever it is, now just add A, V, A, D, and K behind that. And we can do that all the way to number E. Again, I'm going to kind of guesstimate time here, but I'm going to give you maybe like a minute and a half just to be able to take that scoring down and just put that behind each of your numbers, the V, the K, the A, D, and the A. Okay. Hard to kind of gauge the timing, but I'm going to give I think it's probably another 30 seconds, so it would be good. Okay, if you're done, just kind of give me a thumbs up, so I can just know that you guys are done and I can move on to the next part of it. Thank you very much. Brilliant. So what I want you to do now is the final part of the scoring, if I could call it that, is to be able to add up all your K's, A's, V, and AD. So obviously I haven't completed mine fully here, but let's say, for example, K here is 4, a 1, a 3, a 1, and a 5. Just add those numbers together and get a scoring for yourself for the V. Add all your A's together. What is the number behind it? And just kind of get a scoring for your V, your A, your K, and your AD. So just look at each of those and just quickly get your 4 answers or your 4 scorings for each of the 4 elements. So just use that and just add them together. You don't need to kind of rewrite the table, just kind of add them up together. And for that, again, I'm just going to give you a minute and a half just to be able to quickly add those together. If you are done, maybe just kind of do a raised hand or something that I can just kind of see that, you know, as everybody's done. Okay. Wonderful. I'm starting to see some people bring their hands up. Thank you, Carla. I'm noticing your scoring. That's very helpful. Much appreciated. There's some more coming through. We're over 10, right, Carla? We're over 15? Okay. All right. Give it another 20 seconds just in case. All right. So what I want you to do now is to notice just what is your highest and your lowest scores, right? So which the V, the A, the K, or the AD, which one is your highest and which one is your lowest, just for yourself to notice. And we'll now go through the explanation of what they mean. So the first thing is what this assessment does, it's around learning styles. It's around how we prefer to process information. So we all take information in through our senses, and we almost have, I call it your superpower, but we've got one sense we prefer above another when it comes to information processing through the nervous system. So it doesn't mean that your sense one works better than another. It's just that you've got a preference that you prefer to take information through that channel, if you want to call it that. So you prefer to kind of use the fax machine versus a telegraph machine or a cell phone, for example. It's just a different type, and each person has a different style they prefer. So we have 4 main types. The first is visual, right? So visual people, which is the V. So if your high score was the V, is visual people is they learn by seeing things, by pictures, by images. That's how they tend to learn. Auditory focus on what they hear. They focus on the tone of voice, the volume, the pitch of it. They remember by hearing things, right? Kinesthetic people are more kind of learning through movement of their body and by doing things. So by actually physically engaging with things, practically kind of keeping their hands and body busy or engaging the material, that's how they learn. And the last one is AD. Now that, again, just to note, is not attention deficit disorder. It's auditory digital. So what that is around, it's 2 parts. The one is people that have got the AD learning style tend to focus on how it works. They want to understand the how, the mechanics of things. The second part is it's almost like an internal reflector. So when they take in information, what happens for them is they almost have to internally process it in the mind and have a pause moment to be able to either see or hear or reflect it on their own mental screen. Taking that into a bit more detail. So someone with the kinesthetic style, for example, is their preference is the physical experience. So how this relates to kind of studies is if you are a kinesthetic, so if K was your highest style, you want to make sure that you are, one, if it's very theoretical stuff, is make sure you've got something that you can fidget with, right? Keep your hands busy and occupied in order for the brain to think and process. A second thing is to kind of take the bathroom breaks, or the stand-up breaks, right? Is walking and talking while you're kind of studying. When the body's engaged, the mind will think and process better. So really it's about being able to engage and experiment with things. The more you can do things. So taking down notes is, again, as the body's engaged more, will be very helpful. In terms of the auditory style, if that's your preference, it really would be helpful for you to, again, is listen to podcast. If you've got recordings of lessons or sessions, if you can listen to your own voice, kind of hearing it out loud, the sound of voices, tones, if you can kind of put things to music or lyrics or sing it, right? So whatever comes through from the auditory side, listen instructions, those things will be much more helpful. People whose style is more the visual, is for them it really is around the pictures. So as much as you can not just kind of write down a word, but create images, right? If it's a sun, then you draw a sun. If it's a car, then draw a car. Use symbols, use things. The more you're able to use images or pictures in things, diagrams, those things will be very helpful. So images, pictures, film, those type of things will be very valuable for you when you're using in your learning techniques. And the last one is auditory digital. With regards to that is what we always say is focus on the VAK first. Which one there is your external sensory input first? And if your AD is a strong one or is your strongest, is that one just needs that pause. So for the learning style there, it's about being able to think through something. So take information and then internally allow it to filter through, process. It's almost like allowing it to process is really kind of the big thing around it. So allow it to process, allow that pause moment that you can be able to hear it in your own mind. So I, for example, am very highly visual. So if I see someone's name, I'll remember it. If you tell it to me, my least one is the A. So I tend to not remember by hearing things. I'm also very high on the AD processor. So what happens is if someone asks me something else saying is, do you want to go out for dinner tonight or rather kind of eat out? I almost have to repeat it for myself again in my mind, and then it'll land better. So for that AD processor, it's really about kind of saying is look at making the cogs sort of work, is how does it work? So figure out the how. And number two is to create that pause reflection time in order just to let yourself internally process before moving on. So just in terms of extra bit of things there, like I mentioned, is for the kinesthetic style is movement, right? Physically move your body, role plays in baskets, touching and exploring different things will actually help you in terms of learning. For the auditory listeners, we spoke about music, right? Debating. So if you can be able to study with someone who's also highly auditory, is to debate through the information, hearing it from your own voice, from someone else's voice, panel discussions, those type of things will be highly valuable for you. So small group exchanges of ideas, very helpful. For visual learners, again, as much visual stimuli. So where you can add in as much pictures to your summaries, to your notes, handouts, video sort of elements or things like that. Again, from studies, is there's YouTube videos, right, that you can be able to remember the film in your mind. When you're kind of studying things is, for the visuals, is trying to get a picture makes 1,000 work. Make pictures of it in your mind. Color is very helpful. The more you can bring colors, use markers, highlighters, those I think is increases the amount of visual cues and stimulus that you get. And then the last one again is that AD processor. Most important there is to take that pause moment. Take time to reflect on the information and to think about the how it works. What is the different steps in terms of getting there? Into reflection, allow yourself to see it on your mental screen if your visual is quite high, or allow yourself to hear it if you're quite visual, but through your own ears. So even to say it out loud to yourself allows you to reflect on it from an internal mental screen. So a quick one there. I want to take a quick kind of pause moment, and I'm going to stop screen sharing for a quick second. And now I'm going to encourage each of you to kind of maybe just sort of share what was your takeaway from, or what is your learning from that? So any questions or takeaway or learning? So unmute yourself and any kind of quick questions or takeaway from that. You can switch on videos if you like. You can unmute yourself. What is your learning takeaway? We're sort of halfway through our segment. Thanks, Carla, noted. Questions? We can have a quick kind of a leg stretch or a bathroom break or a water break. 2 quick questions. The only people are off the hook on this one is the AD processes, because I know you need time to reflect on it first, right? Before I ask you questions. So anything around changing your state? Thank you. I always knew that studying with colored notes was easier, but never knew it was an actual learning style that others also use. Beautiful. Fantastic, right? And the beautiful thing about that is it's really applicable in exam times, but we also start using it in the business world, right? So if you're dealing with someone who is, or if you're a visual processor, if you're in a study environment, is pay attention to the things on the board, right? If you're someone who's more auditory, sometimes close your eyes and just listen to things if that's your primary sense. If it's a feeling thing, again, is notice the feelings that you're in, because that again is to experience something, make it more practical, engaging with it will be more helpful for you. Anyone got a further question? Beautiful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give us a quick 4-minute break. So if you can be back by 6:03, just in case you want to take a quick bathroom break. It's more for kind of bringing that mental concentration in. The kinesthetics will love me for this because they get that kind of mental sort of reboot. So I'll be here if anybody wants to kind of stay around and ask a question. Otherwise, be back at 3 minutes past. We'll start exactly at 3 minutes past. Anybody's got a question? You're still kind of maybe at your computer. Welcome to ask that. Please do unmute yourself and or type in the comment box. Happy to take any questions. Hi, Anne. Thank you so much for that. Yes, I will try and do so. I wonder if I'm able to attach it to here, but it might be too big a document. But I will. What I'll do is I will actually get it WeTransferred, and then we can just be able to maybe get that link sent to you via WeTransfer. Excellent, you're very welcome. Okay. I have it as, okay, wonderful. There's some questions coming through. Let me just move myself back to that part of the screen. So the first question is from Orpa. Is Chantal, my scores on VA or VA and AD are almost similar. What does this imply in terms of learning? So in terms of the setting, right, I'm not able to look at your things in full detail or kind of double check. We went at it at speed. So there are two things. So number one is if they're similar, it is what it is the way we kind of tend to answer. My question would be, is any of, but is your highest one significantly high? Are you able to distinguish what your highest one is? Please type it in or unmute yourself. So the big thing is the assessment is a very nice way to kind of get us to an answer, but oftentimes it needs more investigation. So what often I say to people is, if you're in a room of learning, do you tend to pay attention to the slides? Do you tend to and remember the image, or do you tend to like remember like something someone said, or very sensitive to like tone of voice? Are you someone who kind of wants to feel like if I can talk nonsense, but if I get you engaged, you're going to kind of be with me, or you need that pause moment to reflect? So it may be if they're similar, that the questions may have been similar for you or, asked at speed, but it's kind of like now become more aware of saying is which one am I, how do I learn? What do I pay attention to? What is the thing I pay most attention to? So start thinking about in the past, we're now going to is, what do I notice? Do I notice the visual cues? Do I notice the auditory? Do I notice the feeling part? Or I want to feel the feeling part or the alternative? So, yeah, it's not a, it really is something that if they're very close together is try and think from yourself from past experience where you tend to kind of learn or pay attention to most. Welcome to ask me again some more or ask a further question. Claire, yes. So Claire just going to say is that the session is being recorded, so being able to convert it to YouTube and share the link with you. Cool. Thank you so much for that. Brilliant. Any other questions that kind of came up during the quick break? The person who unmutes first and asks a question actually physically on here, there shall be a prize for you. Want to get some more engagement out of you. So whenever someone can build up the courage, if someone at some point is willing to unmute themselves and ask a physical question, I will ensure there's a prize for you. All right, so I believe everybody's back in the room. So let's quickly move back onto the slides. So I just want to get back to screen sharing and we can sort of go from there. Okay, just let me know if you are back into presentation mode. Carl, if you can just give me a thumbs up, then I know that it's back in presentation mode. Or am I still in PowerPoint? Is it presentation mode? You can see my screen? Cool. So here's the question, right? Just going to bring you all back into the room and bring your focus back in is I want you to put one hand on your chest and one on your belly. And just notice for me is where you're breathing from. Are you breathing through your stomach? So, or through your stomach, yeah, or your belly? Are you breathing through your belly? Or are you breathing through your chest area? So B for belly or C for chest. Notice that for a second and just kind of type them into the comment box is B or C, belly or chest. So we've got one of each, so 2 chests, 1 belly. Okay, now they're coming through thick and fast. Okay, cool. Nicely that there's a difference, right? Fantastic, appreciate that. So the answer or the best way to breathe is through belly breathing. I call it's the kitty cat's belly breathing, is by breathing in through your belly. What actually happens, again, it's a stress management technique. If you think about it, is your rib cage is constricting your chest or your lungs from fully expanding. By breathing in through your belly, what happens is that you allow your diaphragm actually to drop and you get more expansion in your chest area and chest cavity, which means that you get more oxygen coming in. What happens for people oftentimes when they do more belly breathing is they might, if you do this for a while, you might get lightheaded, probably because most of the time you're not getting all the oxygen in. But it reduces stress, it calms down the body, it generally tends to relax you, and it also helps the brain grow, right? More oxygen to the brain will give you more alertness, more awakeness. So belly breathing, really powerful. They say most adults only use about 60% of their breathing capacity because they tend to chest breathe. So really helpful before or after a test, during breaks, if you're feeling angry or kind of anxious, try the belly breathing. Good. So again, part of studies. Something which is really kind of helpful again from a neuroscience perspective is eye patterns. So oftentimes when you're trying to bring information in, right? So if you are different eye patterns relate to different parts in the brain. So when you are looking at material or want to be able to visually kind of put things together or looking at your notes, oftentimes very helpful to kind of raise your study notes above your eyes. So not in sort of line of sight or down on your piece of paper, but if you're able to elevate it, you'll actually be triggering the visual parts of your brain and be able to hold things or create mental pictures of it in your mind. So when studying, where possible, when you can, is try to elevate it to be able to access the visual cues and store that information to memory. When you're listening to things, very helpful to look left or right, right? By being able to do that, that's kind of looking at our sound or our auditory part of the brain. So again, is looking left or right when you're saying things, again, will help you to be able to access the auditory. So when you're hearing information, I find that oftentimes it is I tend to kind of just look one way, right? So it's about constructing versus remembering it or recalling it. But when you're kind of constructing it, very helpful is just to kind of look left or right to be able to assimilate the information. And then the last two is oftentimes I say why people tend to sometimes add negative, and what we spoke about state change first is when you look down, right? Particularly looking at this person. So when she is, it's in reverse. Don't want to complicate it, but the brain, so this person is, this will be her right side. So when you're looking down and right, you access the feeling side of your brains. So by being able to look down, you'll get into your feelings. So again, it's very important if you feel that you're getting into a negative state when study. Most of us tend to kind of study with our books face downwards. Again, either raise them or be conscious of what state of mind you're in when you kind of keep studying looking downwards, right? So when you kind of look down, you get into your feelings or into that kind of mental reflector. So when you want to kind of reflect on something, yes, look down, be very conscious of what feeling you're experiencing, and that you don't always just associate looking down and being in a negative state at the same time, because then you will be able to store negative emotions with the studies that you're doing. So raising a book at times, checking your state, very powerful to use eye patterns. Good. All right. So another quick one is oftentimes in business and in studies, people tend to get into the or get bitten by the bug of procrastination. So we've got this beautiful acronym called LEARN, which helps you to be able to manage procrastination. So it stands for label, exhale, accept, release, and notice. So really in short, what it is oftentimes when we are kind of in a task, we start kind of procrastinating, our amygdala, which is a part of the brain, kind of gets activated, and we've got this fight and fright response. So by being able to use this kind of a technique, we're able to move ourselves into action. So the first thing is when you're starting to feel an emotion that leads to procrastination, like I'm feeling overwhelmed or anxious or stress is building, the first thing to do is label the emotion, saying is, oh, take a post saying is, oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed, right? Name it, label it. Because oftentimes inside our brain, it becomes a washing machine. By labeling it, you actually are able to concretize it and not allow it to just keep going, right? So it's almost like you stop it in its tracks to a point. The second part is to exhale. Like we said, is parasympathetic, increase that out breath. The more you can do that, 3 to 5 breaths, that you're just increasing that out breath longer, that we can start calming that negative emotion. The third part is to accept, saying is it's a feeling, right? Don't resist it. Don't give it extra airplay. Because when you start resisting, it persists and it kind of has a longer present. Just kind of saying, accept. I accept that I'm feeling that feeling. The next thing again is to kind of release the muscle tension. So you can use that CDP technique we used. And what I oftentimes do is just kind of even closing your eyes and just kind of go to every body part. If you're writing, for example, and just literally imagine that your hands are just kind of calming down, relaxing. Go to your forearms, feel them relaxing. All the shoulders, legs, work up the chest area, notice the neck. Just literally release the tension in your body. And then the last part is notice. Notice the urge to procrastinate. Where is it coming from, right? Oftentimes we've got different parts in our body where we feel different emotions, right? So oftentimes people tend to worry in their gut or in their shoulders or their head. It's different for different people. Start noticing where you feel things. If you notice that your happiness sits in your chest area, and worry or stress sits in your head, is move that feeling and saying, I'm going to move you from my head to my chest. And here I feel my happiness. So notice where it is in your body and move it somewhere else, right? Or just remove it from the body. So notice where you're feeling it and just kind of make you remove it from the body is another helpful technique. The second one that we try to use that is useful for procrastination is called the WHOOP technique, right? So it's a great way to kind of get you to get that extra motivation, which is wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan. So it really is kind of implementation intention on steroids is kind of our sort of go-to thing. So oftentimes is when you find that you are starting to consider procrastinating on a task or a project, something you're starting to put over. I always say, well, willpower runs up by 11 o'clock in the morning, right? So in order to move past that is what you want to do is you want to start with, I wish, right? So let's say is, I wish to complete my pre-test assignment. Or yeah, let's go with assignment, right? Let's go and use the word, not use the word exams, but saying is, I wish to complete my science assignment. So that's the first. So you complete the same thing as what you. So what is the wish? What is it you actually want to accomplish, right? By the end of the day, by a certain time period, right? So and put a time to it. The second thing is after I complete my science assignment, I will experience. So by doing that is you're actually adding an emotion to it, right? What would that completion look like? Putting yourself into the future, saying is what would I feel and experience by doing that, right? It's almost like we're coaxing the subconscious mind that doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. We're putting those future feelings into the now. I will experience excitement, immense pride, relaxation, a complete feeling of satisfaction. That's the outcome. The next O is about obstacle, right? So, however, I won't experience this great excitement, whatever you put in the previous outcome, this excitement, satisfaction, and whatever the procrastination technique that you're doing, saying is start watching Netflix or call up a friend or start kind of noticing my social media or take another walk around to the kitchen and get another sandwich. Whatever that thing is almost kind of saying is that is the obstacle that's making me prevent to have the great feeling outcome I had in the second statement. And the last one is the plan, right? So when I start to, and that's whatever that implementation technique is you want to do, is I will, and then you're going to put it in saying whatever it is you want to feel or experience. So find an action technique that you can do. So saying is when I start studying, when I start creating my PowerPoint slides, when I start making my summary, I will be able to, so when I start to feel I'm too tired or etc., I will do the following. So look for the cue, what you would actually have happen. So when I start feeling a certain way, or whatever that kind of almost like a trick or the telltale sign comes in, I will do the following thing. I will start working. I will start mobilizing myself. So that's the whoop. What's the task? What's the outcome you want to actually experience? Or what is the outcome you want to achieve? And how that make you feel? What is the obstacle that will prevent you from feeling that? And if you use that obstacle is, what do you do instead? So when you see this obstacle kind of coming, or this procrastination technique kind of coming up, here's what I'm going to do instead. So have a alternative action game plan. When I feel this thing or this obstacle comes up, here's what I'm going to do with it. Good. So that's whoop technique, which helps with procrastination. So in general, what I kind of say in terms of study prep, stress management, one is meditation. If you don't meditate, mindfulness, breaths, deep breaths, moments of pause and silence, that pretty much is meditation, right? So just quiet time, quieten the body, quieten the mind, bring yourself centered to the body. Exercise, it's not about having to go to the gym, because I'm the last person who kind of, encourage you to go to the gym, because I tend to not do it myself that much. But move the body, right? I mean, I'm saying I start tracking my steps, right? Is the more you move the body, the more you move the mind, it's just getting more oxygen flowing, more fresh breaths coming through it. Walk around your garden, right? If times are constrained, just move the body, right? I've had someone in my office who would do sitting Pilates. She was a retired person, and she would do sitting Pilates in her chair at her desk to get her body moving. Time to relax, really important. Find ways to recharge. Join a social club, or just make sure that you also socially engage, right? Someone saying, hey, this is, my workload's a lot, right? So connect with people that you get it off your chest. Eat well, less coffee, caffeine, nuts are really great. Water, I'm always a pro fan of, and make a priority list, right? What's my A, B, C things to do, and kind of schedule them from there. So that would be our tea break. So any quick questions before I move on? So if your bravery or courage wants to kick in, now's the time. Any questions around the study techniques? Because I'm going to kind of just go into a little bit of what business is looking for in the last 40 minutes. Any questions, any feedback around part 1? Yes, I don't know your first name. Knopa.
Oh,
Welcome to unmute yourself. There we go.
Right. Can I? First of all, hello. How are you?
I'm excellent, right? I'm even more happy that you unmuted and you're chatting to me. That's really great.
Although it's load shedding, but okay. Let me ask my question.
Yes.
My question is, when it comes to like the whoop, I feel like if I could add mnemonic like to fill in, is it the outcome? No, not the outcome. Can you please go back to the slide quickly?
I was not exactly going to go there quickly as well, because I think that present was someone else as well. There we go.
Yes.
Let me know if you can see that.
Yeah, I can see it. Thank you. So when it comes to the wish, okay, example, give an example said if I wish to complete my science assignment, and then outcome, I would say after I complete my assignment, I will experience relief, relief and excitement, and then obstacle. However, I won't experience. Okay, that's an obstacle. An obstacle would be maybe. Oh, I think you gave an example. You said Netflix. Did you say I won't experience some? Okay, I have one. Sorry, I speak too fast. I'm not nervous.
That's breathe, right? So when you're not, this is a perfect time to kind of stop yourself. What I oftentimes do, another technique that you can use, is just start rubbing your fingers next to each other. I want you to notice, can you almost feel your fingerprint or your fingertips? And feel almost like your fingerprints on your finger?
Hold on. Yes, I can.
Gently like rub them together. Perfect. So by doing this again, you're bringing more kind of body sensation into it, moving yourself out the outside world, and just again grounding and centering yourself to the body. So your question was saying is, however, I won't experience, let's call it satisfaction, if what you want to write in there is whatever your procrastination technique is like. I will not experience satisfaction if I go and watch Netflix.
Yes. And then also when it comes to the plan, I said when I start, I wanted to fill in that start to on the plan part. So when I Oh, sorry. When I start to formulate, I would say formulate like mnemonics, then I will be able to study better and understand better and be able to remember better. Yeah. So I'm asking you, can I link those mnemonics with the whoop?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's almost what you're doing is every time, whatever answer you use in the previous one, you're going to add in. So what you use in the previous one, you're going to use in the next one. So I want to accomplish this, but if I don't do it, I'm going to feel that. You use the feeling for the next one, and you just keep kind of plugging in the previous word into the next one. Does that answer it?
Yeah, yes, it does. But I'm not quite sure.
What is the mnemonic that you refer to?
Like mnemonic as in, like, when you're studying, then there will be like these, what should I say? Like at top, there will be like a chapter, right? And then the chapter would have topics and subtopics. Sometimes you find that like those subtopics would be like 10. There could be 10 of them, and each one of them could have its own explanation. And then you could have to other chapters, but then without forgetting what you have studied in the previous chapter, the one with the subtopics. So so by creating mnemonics, I meant like okay,
like acronyms, like WHOOP is an acronym for wish, obstacle, outcome, and plan. By creating an acronym like that, . So I was asking if that could also be like a,
So I was asking if that could also be like a, mnemonic, as in, like, you know, when you're studying, then there will be like these, what should I say? Like at top, there will be like a chapter, right? And then the chapter would have topics and subtopics. Sometimes you find that like those subtopics would be like 10. There could be 10 of them, and each one of them could have its own explanation. And then you could have to other chapters, but then without forgetting what you have studied in the previous chapter, the one with the subtopics. So could it be like as effective as WHOOP or not? Like having that type of system when you like study, when you have like a lot of work and then you have to like summarize it a little bit just so you could like be able to remember, you know, and then
well,
you could.
Yeah. This technique is particularly to kind of get you to stop procrastinating because it changes the mental dialogue. It puts feelings into it. It puts an action plan into it. That's kind of it. It gets you to get to implementation. Where mnemonics are good, I think, for any kind of thing, right? You're using a WHOOP or an acronym is really great for studies all the time. It's one of my favorite things. If you can make a rhyme or a rhythm or a something to things or words you can remember, really great technique.
Oh. Okay, I just wanted to ask just to be sure if maybe I'm on the right path of using like mnemonics and okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
100% mnemonics, really good thing to do. Excellent. I'm trying to get back to my screen. There we go. Cool. Thank you. What is your first name?
My first name is Mushoti. I don't know if you'll be able to pronounce it. A lot of people will find it hard. It's Mushoti.
Mushoti.
Oh yeah,
hey.
there you go. That's how it is.
She's got it. Fantastic. All right. And then yes, so I do struggle with procrastination, and this helps. Fantastic. The biggest thing with procrastination is, I know there's a lady made it very famous, is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? It's literally just count back from 5 to 1 and just do it, right? So Nike made millions out of it. The slogan works, is just get to it. So don't think about it, switch the brain off and just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and just start, right? Just take that first step. Doesn't make this, no matter how big or small, take the first step. Perfect. Yeah, so what we'll do is, because you were willing to answer, is I will actually get, if you get in touch with myself or Carla, we will do 2 assessments for you and give you feedback on those personally. All right. Anybody else got a question or a thought quickly? Someone else could be unmuted, but I'm not 100% sure. Going once. Perfect. All right, so let me get back to my screen here and let's really move into, so the second part of what we kind of spoke about, because I know we've got a lot of students who might be doing application forms or people looking for jobs. It's just going to speak a bit about, you know, what's important when you're kind of doing application forms, or what does business want? So a couple of things is, what I find is one of the most helpful, beneficial things for matriculants, but also for students, is balanced life. What I mean by that is, don't underestimate the power of extramurals and volunteer work, things you do in the community. What's really helpful for application forms, etc., is showing diversity, not just great academic marks. I'd rather take a B student who did sports and culture, maybe some community service, than an A student that all they did was study. So academics, yes, super important. Apply yourself to that. But equally, what's important is make time and effort, even if you're in your final year, is can you go and do some kind of work in the holidays before you study, volunteer work, helping to teach Sunday school, for example, doing a couple of hours of volunteer work in a local hospital, getting involved in, you don't have to be the best. Being the sports captain is not the only way to go. Being a participant in the sports team is equally important. So for those of you who are students going into varsity and you still got some time into it, is make sure that you spend time to build more of a holistic profile for yourself. Sports, culture, extramurals, social clubs, things that shows more balanced people tend to be able to do more, get more things done, and they perform generally kind of better. Other super important elements, yes?
We have a question from Tom before you go into far. He says, how do you create a stable? Can you read that question, or shall I read it?
Thank you, Carl, if you can read it.
How do you create a stable balance between studying and taking breaks without falling into a procrastinating phase?
Perfect. What I tend to use for that, Tom, is timers, right? They said that the average or a good amount of concentration time you want to try and get to is like 45 minutes. If you can push it slightly further, really great thing to do. The most concentration is really sharp to about 45 minutes. I tend to kind of, when I tell people kind of to prevent procrastination, try and do 55-5 or a 50 50-10. So if you can kind of push it to 45 to 50, trying to get yourself to kind of stretch it further, but start on 45 minutes, and then with a 5-minute break, and timers get back into it. If the lock goes off, is be disciplined to work by the clock. So get the timer. So set up a schedule is the first thing. What am I studying by when, right? So start blocking out time as far as you can. Stay in the same room, right? So if it's a matter of getting distracted or procrastinating, is make sure you bring the snacks in the room. They don't actually have to leave, walk out and see someone else watching TV while you're kind of, going around. Get yourself a flask to drink, right? So yes, have the stand-up break and sort of have a cup of tea or have something to drink, but with your flask there with you, and then sit back down again. So scheduling things, so put down, write on a schedule. So again, you've got a framework, a structure that your mind wants to work towards is helpful. Using time and timers, again, really powerful technique that you're saying is try and get to that 45 minutes, see for yourself what it is, but to be disciplined about is that mental break time, 5 minutes. I would even like try and push it like 3 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes, that you don't get super lazy or kind of distracted by something, or saying is I'm going to play one Sudoku, for example, depending on something you can do super quick, and then get straight back onto it, right? So have a schedule that pulls you back to what should I do next. A plan helps that not have to think what I have to do next, is I know what is the next thing on my list to do. So structuring things helps to have a schedule, have a plan. You don't have to think about it. Watches work really well. Those are the two ones I would use predominantly for that kind of procrastination. Less distraction, not to move out the room. So again, is stay in the same environment. Also a really great technique to do. And the other thing I would say is switch off your phone on flight mode. I did not live in the time where you guys have got as much pinging and flashing and things going on when I was studying. But try to put your phone on flight mode again to prevent that distractibility, because your bandwidth is not limited, but it is like it's like bandwidth on a computer, right? You don't want to kind of keep spending out on things that just are distractions. So phone on flight mode. Helpful?
We have a comment here. I use a free app, Focus Keeper.
Yeah. Cool. I don't know about it, but I would say if someone else is recommending that, nice thing called Focus Keeper. Have a look at that and see what you can do with that. What I was not sure what anybody who actually knows what does the app do, either type it in or again kind of unmute yourself and tell us what the app does. What I would also do is bring that mindfulness breathing back in, right? Is bring the hakala in to focus the attention, bring the breathing in to again bring your parasympathetic nervous system into play. Again, it's good techniques to use as well. Anybody commented on that app, Carla?
Yes, there's a hand raised. It's Claire.
It's me, Chantal. Just really, which I use for between with different projects that I'm working on, different clients. So I suppose it would be different assignments as well. Is just you type in the task. So it would be like marketing report, and I put in 30 minutes, and then you press play, and then it beeps at you when it's done. And then also I try and keep it on my phone, the whole big bright red thing, so that I'm not distracted by the WhatsApps from the book club. Just saying.
Oh, brilliant, right? Yeah, so do not disturb is a great thing, right? Unless it's a critical call that you can have come through, like, important things. Otherwise, do not disturb is a great one to do. Good. Happy. Moving on to the next one. The next thing is in terms of sort of applications and things like that is the best place, and this is obviously a longer conversation, but saying is to first start from what do you want, right? The business world is going to want different things from you. There are critical skills people look at, which we're not going to go into detail around, but things like emotional intelligence and creative thinking and resilience and perseverance and agility through kind of hardship. But when you're kind of looking at what you're applying for, and even jobs and things like that, is start with what do you want? What is the career path and goals that you want to do? Define what success is for you, because it's different for every person. For one person, it may be to climb the career ladder. For someone else, it's being able to have work-life balance, to be able to be present for their children. For someone else, it may be able to make an impact in a certain industry, right? To leave a mark. Is decide what success is for you and use that kind of as part of your parameter in terms of what you look at. And then this is a concept or a philosophy called, I think it's called Ikigai. And it's based on 4 things. So the first thing is to focus on what you're passionate about, right? Things that give you excitement. They say if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life because you're creating your own joy, right? So do things that you're passionate about is the first thing to do. So what do you love? So look at passions, interest areas. The second thing is to do things that you're great at, right? I'm going to be honest saying I did really well in accounting. It was my top subject by far, but it was not something I loved to do, but I was very good at it. Now in my own business, obviously I've got to do my, part of my own accounting and I don't mind it too much, but I couldn't make a full career out of it. So, and you've got to kind of look at all four elements together, right? So one, what you love, and number two, what you're good at. The third one is what you can get paid for, right? It's important to understand what is in demand in the market, what skill sets are required. So do your homework, do your research, finding out what jobs are there in the market, what skills that are people looking for that are commercially viable. And it's not just about what the highest paycheck is, because I've also seen people kind of going for something which is a high grossing job, but the complexity around it and the enjoyment for them won't be there. So you want to be able to also look at something that you can sustain yourself in the long term, right? Will it still be around? Not just paid high for now, but will it still be around for many years from now? I mean, with technology advanced, we see a lot in the supply chain industry is things like automated cars are coming in, which means we take drivers out. Yeah, maybe that's low-hanging or low-skilled workforce, but computers are probably going to take lawyers out of the equation pretty soon, doctors in terms of robots being able to do better precision cutting and things like that. So even high-paying jobs might be out of the market. And then the last one, it kind of relates back to that, but kind of saying is, what does the world need? What is there a need for? What is there a calling for? So it's kind of looking at what you apply for is looking at the elements first and starting with saying is, what do I want? What's important to me? And from there, start making your choice in terms of what you look for. The next part is to really make sure that you stand out with your own uniqueness and your own differentiators. So in terms of applications, in terms of applying for jobs, doing applications for university is make sure that you stand out in person, on paper, and online. The online becomes more prevalent, I would say, when you're a varsity student, which I think there's quite a few on the line at the moment. But be conscious of what you're posting on your social media, conscious where your friends are tagging you into social media. Because I would say is you want to consider yourself to almost be a brand. And brands are known for something. And you want to be able to, when people interact with you, they want to have a memorable experience. They want to be able to see you as having someone who's got a good reputation. So be conscious of what you're posting. What is your WhatsApp status, right? And what does it say about you? So think more like you are a business owner. I always say is that effectively when you start looking for a job, is you become the CEO of your own company, Me Incorporated. What do you stand for? What is the ethos? What's the essence of what you want to be able to bring about? The next thing is to know what is your value proposition. So before doing application forms, they're going to ask you many questions. And when you start looking at putting your own CV together or your portfolio of evidence is know what your strengths are, know your weaknesses or development areas. You never want to go into an interview not knowing what your development areas are because they will, if you're lying about this, what else are you lying about, right? Because you've got to have some of those. Know what you are, and development areas is, it's not thinking that you're weak at, but saying is, what are you not great at yet, right? Something you've got to still be able to work on, develop, get better at. Like my word skills are great, but my Excel might be medium. So I need to improve my Excel skills. Values, know what you stand for as a person, what has meaning for you, what matters to you, what is your values will determine your behavior, right? Know who you are as a person, have that clarity when you're going into applying for things. I want to become a doctor because I value health and humanity and helping people. I want to go into supply chain because I love organizing. I like being able to deliver for people to make sure that something gets completed, gets sent through for completion. Know your passions, like I said, is the more you can do things you're passionate about, the more your heart's engaged, your mind's engaged, and it just gives you great fulfillment in life. A paycheck only comes around once a month, right? The other 29 days or 30 days, you've got to be able to work at your own happiness. And then things that are purposeful, right? What What is your soul stirred to do? I'm checking the time, and I'm going to do a quick one, right? Because you guys aren't asking lots of questions. So let me do a quick another assessment. Happy to do another quick assessment? It's 4 questions, A and B only. If it's a yes, thumbs up for me. Your screens are off my screen, so I can't see you. Carla, is there thumbs up coming up? Or you assessed out? Double checking. Let's see if I can get my screen back.
Thumbs up.
Cool. Fantastic. All right. So in terms of career choices, here's a quick assessment. So what's going to happen is I'm going to ask you 4 questions, and all you're going to do is you're just going to write down A or B, or just first or second one, right? You're just going to pick the first or the second statement. So 4 questions coming up now. First question is, how do you get energized? You're sociable, outgoing, expressive, like people interaction, thinking out loud. Option 1. Or you're quiet, prefer talking one-on-one, enjoy being alone and keeping your thoughts private. No right or wrong. Which one is more like you? The way you get energized. I'll give you another 30 seconds, or no, 20 seconds, just pick A or B. Well, number 1 or number 2, sorry. Okay. I'm hoping I'm able to move on to the next question. Number 2 is, what do you pay attention to? Are you factual, realistic, practical, in the here and now? Operate from experience? Number 1. Or you're conceptual, imaginative, future-orientated, enjoy new ideas and considering possibilities. Okay, moving on to number 3. Is, how do you make decisions? You're logical, curious, analytical, questioning, prefer an objective and rational approach, seeking knowledge. Number 1. Or your genuine, compassionate, based decisions on personal values, relationship-centered and harmonious. 1 or 2. Great. Can I move on from there? The last question is the lifestyles you adopt. You're decisive, organized, plan ahead, set goals, meet deadlines, prefer order and routine. Or you're flexible, adaptable, enjoy change, being spontaneous, and like to keep your options open. Good. Everybody happy with those? None of them have to go. Do you want to go back to any of them, or can I move forward? Just show us thumbs up. Okay. So I'm going to give you the scoring. I've got some repeat on the line. Not sure where that's coming from. Oh. All right. So first one is, if you pick the first one, then you'll write an E. If you pick the second one, then you will write I. So whichever one you chose is write E or I. Second one, S or N. S or N. The third one, you pick the first one, write T. If you pick the second, write F. T and F. And the last one is J or P. Happy with that? All right, everybody good? Can I move on? Going once, twice. So in short, what we've just done is a short Myers-Briggs. So the Myers-Briggs is one of the most well-known personality tests in the world, created by a mom and a daughter team in the 70s. So when you go into Google, you'll find lots of information around it. And what it's helpful for is when you start looking at it, it obviously speaks personality, but also is very helpful in terms of guiding you to career choices. It's also something that you can probably add onto your application forms, right? Saying is, here's my Myers-Briggs assessment, which means I've got this particular type of style and approach and personality type, etc. So when you're doing applications, adding an assessment like this always is a good one. So here's what it means, right? So in short, the first one, E is for extroversion, I is for introversion. What's really important here for people to note, and the misnomer, is that people believe that introverts can't deal with people. And it's got nothing to do with whether you are able to communicate with people or not. It's got to do with your energy levels. So it's about extroverts are recharged by being around people, and they'll probably will just, increase their creativity and their engagement, the more people they're around. Where introverts tend to go for sort of processing away from people, down in their own internal genius, being with few people. If they're around people for a long time, they will lose energy. So as long as you manage your energy and find time to recharge, you can deal with people, short version. The next one is the S is sensing, refers to detail conscious. So the way people process information with the S or sensing is very detail conscious, very meticulous, right? So great at probably data analysis because they notice the details. The N is big picture thinking. So big picture people like to be able to see the whole process beginning to end. They want to be able to, they can pull all the different threads together. They are more future orientated. So big picture versus detail conscious is the second one's difference. The third one is just how you make decisions. The T there is for thinking, is people who oftentimes more kind of rely on they think and they decide from their head, right? Logic, practicality is where they tend to make decisions from. Where your feeling people tend to be a lot more, operate from the heart space. They'll consider other people and their feelings a lot more into things, right? So they have to have peace of mind in their heart in order for them to kind of move forward with something, right? It could make logical sense, but it's got to kind of appease their heart as well. So operating from the heart space. The last one is how we organize the world. So J, it's not about judging. It's just the acronym that they use. But people who are J's, or the judges, are very organized, very deadline driven. They organize, they plan ahead, they get things done, they complete tasks. So very much people almost like that A type. They get things done, they organize, they plan ahead. That's your J's. The P's, on the other hand, are a lot more open and flexible. So it's great. So the P's will be a lot more creative naturally because they just kind of play more on the right brain side. They will also be, they will not be bugged by time. So oftentimes one of the development areas that P's got to focus on is not to be able to focus on getting tasks done because time doesn't bug them. They're not as organized and structured. They love the creativity. They like to have more options, more possibilities. That's what they tend to go with. So that's between the J and the P. So what then happens is it makes up the 8 different elements, make up 16 different personality types. So what you'll find is if you've got the N and the F, so the big picture feelers are idealists. They're very charitable, like self-expression and originality. Your S and J, so the detail conscious judges, very much of your guardians. They follow the rules, they desire structure, they get things done. Your bottom, the blue one, which is the NT, so big picture thinkers, are more creative, more insightful problem solvers, idea generators. And then your SP, so the detail conscious, with that P, more free-spirited party people. So love being in the moment, love the detail of things, but also having that openness, change, expression is good for them. So here again is, I'm just going to kind of keep my eye on the watch, is to be able to, you can go into Google and you'll find a whole bunch of these, but I'll just give them to you in short. So just going to find your acronym. So from your different characteristics, you'll find either be an ESTJ, an ISFP, INTJ. So ENFP, smooth talking persuaders, right? Very good in terms of influencing others, versus the ENTJ, natural leaders. ISTJ, doing things that should be done, right? They get things done. logical, practical, and doers. Again on the internet, you're going to find a huge amount of things around this. But these are just kind of certain vocations or jobs that matches those styles very well. So if your personality has got an affinity towards something, some of these jobs will appeal to you. They'll give you more joy because they match your personality type. There's a lot more that you can find on the internet. Here's probably a lot longer list. In short, the one that we've just done now at speed is about 93% accurate. We've done it with a lot of people over time, and most of the time like I said, it's about 93% accurate, but you can get a lot longer versions. So a 70 question, 150 question one, but these are what they relate to, so those 8 characteristics. And this, again, is a really nice tool to use, as I said, for application processes, for your CV, to kind of add something different to your CV that makes you stand out. But also then from a vocation or a job choice and a career choice perspective, again, this might be very helpful for you to kind of see what you connect with, what you resonate with. Alrighty. And then this one I just always like to put on is that some people say, "Oh, Chantal, you know, I'm an introvert, and that's not a good thing." Or saying as well, "I'm detail conscious, you know, versus, you know, I want to be the big picture thinker, like, you know, you can come up with the strategies, etc." And this is just kind of like 16 fairly famous entrepreneurs. So from the guys that started Apple and Virgin to, well, Elon Musk to Oprah Winfrey and Beyonce. And the point here is saying it doesn't matter what your personality type is. You can be successful at whatever it is that you put your mind to. So love and like the person that you are and what your style is, and utilize those strengths to make success of what you do. But whether you're introvert or a perceiver or a detail conscious person, you can make success from that skill set. Cool. So in quickly wrapping things up, one is obviously what's really important is that education means nothing if you have it. It means everything if you don't have it. Study, apply yourself. When you don't get an education, it's very, it can prevent you from getting in the door, but when you have it, it doesn't matter as much. So the short version is apply yourself to your studies. You only have one time to write your matric. Do it well, apply yourself and see yourself being successful at it and expect the best for yourself to happen. I spoke a little bit about your portfolio of evidence or your CV. Don't just show your marks or things, but show also what you've done, right? What is your track record, what you've been doing? Get involved in other things beyond just schoolwork in order to balance or get that balance, like I think we spoke about earlier, so find time for studies, find time for extramurals, in order to get that balanced profile and that diversity sort of going. In terms of education, we said really important is study further, right? You know, stay a student of life. Make sure that your skill set is always current and relevant, is a couple of important things. And then kind of something I always kind of put down saying is that life's not about finding yourself, right? Because baby, you're not lost. Life's about creating yourself. It's important to think about is what kind of a life would you like to create for yourself? Your matric, your studies you're doing right now, if you're in varsity, it's the springboard to the life you're going to create for yourself. So don't see it as stress, rather see it as pressure. Don't see it as a punishment or an obstacle, see it as an opportunity for you to learn, to grow, and to be able to craft and create something amazing with your life and skill set. So this is a really great anti-procrastination questions, but it's really great for anything to kind of get yourself into action. Is from today's session, the question is, what should you stop doing, start doing, or keep doing? I always like to answer all three. So just from today, from what you learned is what should you stop doing? For example, I should stop watching Netflix. Start doing is exercising, walking around my house or my pool, and keep doing is drink my water and pray every day, for example. So oftentimes when you're uncertain what to do is what should I stop doing, start doing, keep doing? By answering those quick questions at speed is what comes up first, right? Is don't allow yourself to overthink things, but it's a great way to kind of get you to action plan. stop, start, and keep doing. And that is the end of our presentation. So I'm not going to end the show, but I'm going to try and see if I can bring your pictures back up on my screen. Oh, it's going to end anyway. So only way I can get this thing gone. There we go. Oh, it is still sharing. Cool. We've got 6 minutes to spare, right? Or let's make it 5, right? Because I said I'd get you out of here before time. So you still got, you can be able to do something else with your evening. I'm going to go to questions. You can probably still see my slide in the background, which has got our contact numbers on it. It's email for myself and for Carla, that you're welcome to reach out to us if we can help you in any way in terms of you need some career coaching or guidance. If you want to do some assessments to help you with career choices, please welcome to reach out to us. I will, as we said, get the PowerPoint slide into a PDF. Thanks, Claire. Not into PDF, into a WeTransfer that you can be able to download the link because it is quite a large document with all the pictures and images into it. And then, as Claire said, she'll put it onto the YouTube so you can be able to watch your link from there. And then let me just kind of, so any questions, please do just kind of either unmute and ask, or otherwise I'll look in the comment box.
There is a question there, Chantal. Can you see
yes,
in the chat box? Thank you.
But my laptop is switching off. I want to ask for the work environment. Okay. Of course, what type of jobs can we start to apply for as your supply chain procurement, etc. Look for years experience. Let me just read again. I want to ask, with approaching the work environment in regard to our course, I'm assuming you're studying supply chain. What type of jobs can we start with or apply for as your supply chain managers, procurement managers, etc. are looking for you? Okay, cool. I think what I'm getting what you're saying. The first thing probably would be there is supply chain analyst. Well, first let's go one step back, is graduate programs, right? Is try to apply for graduate programs. It gives you a nice overall kind of thing. Sometimes it would be a supply chain graduate, it might just be a graduate development program. Those are super great because they give you exposure to different parts of the job or of the company, of the function, etc. So graduate programs, really great to look at. The second one would be like supply chain analyst, are really nice. Data analyst, logistics analyst, and then planners, right? So a really nice place to start off your career is a demand planner, production planner, scheduler, those type of jobs. So entry-level roles, I mean, if you're kind of searching for things, is kind of see if you can add in the word entry-level in your searches on PNet or things and see if that comes up. Grad programs are good. Planners, analysts are really nice titles to look at. And then my other thing is be open to considering different industries, because supply chain is the most multifaceted, sorry, I got hiccups now, multifaceted and broad sort of skill set, which allows you to go into mining, into procurement. In mining is obviously really big, but so is logistics. 3PLs, logistic providers, again, look at what they have at an entry level. Controller jobs are good, right? You know, logistics controller or an inventory expediter. And be proactive about it. Is what I tend to find is don't just send out CVs, but reach out and try and contact people. Use your LinkedIn. I didn't put my LinkedIn thing on here, but you're very welcome to connect to me. Or, you know, request connection. We've got about 16,000 or 17,000 connections on my LinkedIn. And through that, you'll at least be second level connected to senior supply chain professionals and, you know, reach out to them, have a great elevator speech and apply for things. So that'll be my first kind of question. So controllers, planners, analysts are really great jobs, and then try for any graduate programs. There's another message. Let me check it quickly. Carla, my dad might have a graduate position available. Oh, there we go. Fantastic. Thanks, Tristan, for that. So for the varsity student is please welcome to reach out to Daniel Fenter at Revlon. And I think the one thing I just want to say is oftentimes people saying is if I wasn't kind of recruited out of the graduate program that comes to varsity, I'm not going to get somewhere. Don't expect that to be the truth, right? We've seen people kind of still get jobs in January, February, and March, etc. So thank you, Claire, for putting my LinkedIn connection in there. So again, welcome to connect to me, and then you at least have a second level connected to a bunch of supply chain people. but contact companies directly, right? And not just the HR. Contact the line manager. If you want to be in procurement, then contact the head of procurement. If you want to be in logistics, contact the head or the operations manager. So be proactive in terms of looking for a job. If you're not a SAPICS kind of member, again, I would encourage that, because then again, you're part of a network of people saying is, I am a SAPICS member. I know that your company is in supply chain. I'd love to work for you. And through the community here, again, you can reach out and connect people like you have now. There's a potential link and contact. Okay, that is 7 o'clock. Any other questions? I'm very happy to stay on here. But if you guys need to go, it was super wonderful to meet you. I'm sad that I wasn't able to talk to each of you and all sort of get to see your faces. Em, I can't remember your name, and I'm going to mispronounce it now. I got to see it, right? The hearing doesn't help me, but you're very welcome to kind of reach out to us in terms of the assessment. Carla also kind of noted for me that, Tom, you were very engaging, and so was the girl's name started with an M, but it wasn't Melanie, it was Melinska or something like that. You're very welcome to again reach out to myself and Carla, and we will provide you with 2 assessments. So thank you for your engagement. My big thing is we specialize in talent, and probably for many of you it's scary to kind of talk to a stranger, and you're on a platform of other people are going to kind of think you're asking the wrong thing. But in life, I find it so important to put your hand up and for people to notice you, because being average is very common, and to stand out from there, it doesn't take a huge amount of work, but you want people to notice you, right? So ask questions when you're in these kind of sessions, engage with it, put your camera on, ask questions, because with so much ordinary happening in the world, all you got to do is stand out that little bit for people to notice you. Thank you for joining, and I hope that you got tremendous benefit from this. And if we can help or service you in any other further way, please reach out to myself or Carla.
Thank you, Chantal and Carla. Can you hear me okay? I've only got one AirPod. Okay, great. Thank you. You're just amazing. Welcome. I learned stuff, and I'm old, and I've stopped the studying stuff, but you still got to do some personal, professional development. Thanks everybody for coming and joining. It was great to have 21 people online. Thanks for your interaction. Please keep the conversation going. If you can't remember Chantal's number or Carla's email address, you've got my contact details. Come through me. Let's keep connecting, keep collaborating, keep networking, keep employing people, and keep learning. Everybody be safe and warm and happy. And thanks for supporting SAPICS.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Claire, for organising. Claire, I will send the WeTransfer through to you, that in case there's anybody additional that you can maybe just from your side, would you mind just sending out the WeTransfer link then to everybody?
I will send it to a couple of students. I think they've struggled with connecting. So I'll send that. Thank you so much. And thank you, Carla, for being the back end police lady.
Pleasure.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Thanks, Carla. Appreciate you coming on and supporting.
Okay, goodbye, everybody. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.